Got a 20-pound note rolled up, a little squashed in my pocket. Don't you give me those eyes, we can stop by the shop, get some rum if you want it. I'm tired trying to fight it, fight you, fight this and fight it.
So the day that I met Joshua had done a dance with a friend of mine who allowed me to see the video. Of course, at that time, I really wasn't paying attention to him because I didn't know him. I was more or less focused on her and cheering my friend on or whatever. So then she and I got to talking about Joshua and his dancing talents and whatnot. And I was like, well, why doesn't he dance at church? I've never seen him or whatever the case may be. So she told me that she would contact him. So I don't know whether she actually did or not, but eventually Joshua shows up to church and to our dance rehearsal at that. So when he walks in the door and I'm like, oh, that's Josh. Okay. So then, me just being me, I introduced myself. I'm Miss Shawn, and I'm the performing arts director here now at New Life or whatever. And so I then told him what we needed. So we had to have a dance for MLK and a dance for Black History. Unfortunately, he was not able to make the Black History dance, but we collaborated and kind of put some stuff together for the MLK. It turned out really well. Then I didn't see him for ever and a year until the following year. And I think it was about around Easter or so that I really started speaking to him a lot. Well, a little bit before that, but a lot. And I used to always just walk up to him and just be like, hey, Josh, and give him a hug, and he would just hug me back. But then we'd go our separate ways. That never happened. And we would do this little ritual every Sunday that he would come to church. I used to sit on one side of the church, and he sat on the other side of the church when he was there. And one service, Bishop had spoken over his life. And at that time, I'm just, being me in worship, praising or whatever, and God spoke and told me to go over and pray with him. So I did, out of obedience, of course. I just did what I was asked, didn't think anything of it, and I think I returned right back to my seat. But at that moment, I also realized that I was supposed to do something to be a part of his life to help him get to a destination of some sort in his journey of life, spiritually, however you want to look at it. And from that moment, there were a lot more, hey Josh, hey Shawn, and hugs.
So I'm just on the pinnacle, like I said, of getting my life together. And, I just started off from scratch because I was in a bad place. So, when I mean from scratch, we're talking from scratch. I had to buy all new clothes, and I just moved back in with my parents, and, I was getting right with the Lord finally. And, there's this woman who I just had this amazing connection with. And I'm like, man, okay, God, you sure? You telling me that this lady's supposed to be my wife. Well, there's a factor that, she is, older than me. And, what am I supposed to offer to her? How am I supposed to woo this woman, So, every Sunday in church, she would come and give me a hug. And, it was, hey, Josh. And, I would give a little, hey, Shawn, All meanwhile, I'm kind of noticing her a lot more different than, I had before. And, I'm like, wow, she's amazing. There would be a couple times too that I feel like she caught me staring at her because she could pray for other people, and just something about, her spirit and stuff that would just attract me to her even more. So I started talking to my family. I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna let them know, I like Shawn. I like her a lot. But I don't know how I'm gonna go about, really sliding my way in. I was a little scared, Well, our mutual friend, Stacy, her and Stacy are like thick as thieves. They glued at the hips, best friends. I was like, okay, this is my way in. So we had, I think it was a pastor appreciation, I want to say. that we had here at the Eagles Nest, an event going on, and we were sitting at the table at the Eagles Nest, and I just like politely turned to Stacy and I was like, you know, there's I'm looking for wifey material. There's a couple prospects I got. And so she looks at me, she's like, who? I just kind of cut my eyes over to Sean. Stacy's face lit up. Like she had, you know, the news of the century. So from there, you know, Sean and I continue to just bypass and see each other. And all the while, you know, I'm thinking, okay, well, Stacy will probably tell her, but I don't know, that's not good enough. You know, I need to tell her, I need to let her know. So, so she comes over one day and she's doing one of her many talents, which is photography, for my mom. So all the while she's at the house, and you know, I'm like a little nervous around her, and you know, we're talking, nothing big. And so I see her in the kitchen, and she goes to leave, and I help her with the stuff out. And I remember afterwards, I told my sister, I was like, you know, I'm really feeling Sean, and I'm pretty sure she knows. But here, I'm just gonna send it in a text. So I typed up this paragraph in a text, and I kind of go to my sister and show her. I was like, you think that's good enough? Well, my sister thought it would be funny to just go ahead and send it. So I'm sitting there, mouth dropped open, like, man, like, what'd you just do? You just made me blow my chance, you know? Like, well, needs to say, I got some emojis with a monkey face like this. That's all I needed. That's all I needed.